Hello, dark readers, as we like to say on our podcast. But today we're doing Prime Day, and we are waiting for our Amazon live streamers. We're going to be talking about some dark, fun summertime reads. It's kind of hard to do streams like this because there's no photos or anything like that. But let's wait for our Amazon live people before we get started. Alrighty. I think we are now officially live on Amazon. Hello. Okay. So we're going to be doing dark reads today. So these are Bleak summertime reads for those of you with a little darkness in your heart, just like we do. It's the dark side of the library. So this is kind of our thing. We're going to be talking about some nonfiction reads. We're going to be doing comic books and graphic novels and a manga. There will be a lot of adult fiction, some YA. I think I have one kids book, like middle grade kids book, and a few other things. It's really hard to do book streams because I'm not interviewing anybody. I'm not really, there's no photos necessarily. So I'm going to do my best. I hope I don't bore you. So first, I have this massive box here. I'm just going to go in whatever order comes out of the box. So yesterday we did a stream like this, but I forgot. This was actually in the box. I just didn't see it. It gets so hard to see everything when you're live streaming all day. So the first book I am actually gonna talk about is this really gorgeous, really great Dracula book. So if you have not had, or if you've never collected Dracula, or if you just don't have it on your shelf yet, you've been thinking about it and you're like, I don't know what copy I want, because there's thousands of different copies. This is the one I think I would probably pick to put on your shelf just to have as a collectible, just to go back and read. So this Dracula book is super soft. It's actual velvet on the cover. You can see here, I'm sure a lot of you may know that this is Edward Gorey's artwork on the actual book. We also have it on the back. We have a shiny shine Dracula right here. And right here, big, bold letters. So if you're looking through your bookshelf and you're like, I just want to read Dracula, it should be pretty easy. It's right there. And we have this cool thing on the edges. They're all bats on the edges. This is just a great collectible book. I'm just going to throw it out there. So again, if you've never collected Dracula before and you've been thinking about it, I would go with this one. This is pretty amazing. This is the classic vampire Bram Stoker. I almost said movie, not a movie, book. And again, it's all velvet. It's soft. We've got this really awesome little string here so you can't lose your place. Here's what the inside looks like. Isn't that beautiful? Edward Gorey did all of the illustrations here. He's no longer with us. Rest in peace. But we can remember him by all of his beautiful artwork. Again, the intricate pencil inking. I'm wondering if there's any more illustrations through. I think there are actually. Hold on. So we have tiny, tiny illustrations. Again, Edward Gorey's wonderful hand. Here's some more. I remember one of the things we did actually during lockdown is we put together this Edward Gorey puzzle together. It was so much fun, but it was actually one of the hardest puzzles I've put together. I think there's only a few tiny little illustrations, but here we have some more awesome illustrations in this Dracula book. As you read through, you'll get small little gory-isms. I'm going to call it that now. Throughout, just to give you a little smile on your face. But this is a classic book, and it's a great collectible. Super cool. The Bram Stoker Dracula, it's fantastic. So here's one more big look of it. Very cool. All right. So the next book I'm going to pull out of here, it's actually a YA book, and I haven't read it yet, but this is on my TBR list. I think I'm actually going to be reading this like next. I'm almost done with Nettle and Bone, which is another book I've got going on in this list. But this is next up. So I haven't read it yet. This is not a critique. I'm trying to find this in my carousel. Obviously, The cover is a huge draw in, right? Here are my rules. You may run, you may hide, you may apologize. Oh, who are we kidding? None of you think you've done anything wrong. You may attempt to escape, but you will not. So this is kind of like I Know What You Did Last Summer mixed with Hill House. If that's possible, it's cool. So I actually had somebody shove this in my hand and was like, read it. It's great. It's perfect. So, of course, now I have to. So basically what it's about is we have this woman or kid, teenager, this girl who passed away. It's a group of friends who all would go together to this house on a lakeside. And then she ends up dying in a house fire from this big house. So they end up rebuilding this house. It's spotless. It is exactly the same house, which is kind of cool because usually I've never read a book where it's like a haunted house, but it's actually a new house. It's just, the land or something is haunted. Anyway, so they all come back to celebrate, I think, her life, but they end up realizing that it's not quite as it seems at this lake house anymore because she is gone. So obviously this is a huge draw in. It's not quite a whodunit because we still have that paranormal aspect going on in this book. So I do recommend this. Beach reads, lakeside reads are perfect for summertime, obviously. And if you're a dark reader and you're just hanging out at that beach house with your family and everybody's going outside and you're like, no, I just want to stay inside. These are great books for that. So check it out. And this is YA, by the way. This is by Dana Mel. I have not read it yet, but I've heard amazing things about this book. It has been on a best-selling list for a while, so I do recommend it. Great lakeside read. All right, so the next one is actually that's actually not what I'm talking about next, but I do have manga in this list if you are interested in that. So the next one that I am reading, I'm just picking out of this box. I have a whole box of books. So, yeah, there's no particular order in the carousel. I apologize, but I had to do what I had to do. It's very hard to stream all day. So the next book I'm going to talk about is actually one that I'm almost done with. I've got like maybe a quarter left to it. It's not very big. It's a small, short read. This is a bit of a dark fantasy book. So this is by T. Kingfisher, also known as Ursula Vernon, who's a huge, huge author. So this is Nettle and Bone. Just a warning, a content warning. This does start with cannibalism. Yeah, cannibalism. But it's not blatant or gory. It's kind of insinuated. But it is a dark fantasy novel. This is about, and it's also another content warning here. This is kind of applicable to today. The main character, Mara, is the youngest sister of 3, and they are basically combined to, or they're drawn, or they've got this what do I want to call this? A joint thing with the kingdom. So the king has to marry he goes through all the daughters and they want to produce a son. So they constantly are bearing children. So Mara's trying to stop this from happening because her sister is being abused. So she goes on this big quest to essentially kill the prince/king. That's the quest. And I don't blame her. It's pretty atrocious what's happening to her sister. So she joins up with this woman she's called a dusk mother. Sorry. So Mara, the main character, is kind of like a nun, essentially. And then the dusk mother is a part of that. And the dusk mother can talk to the dead. She's also the most snarky old lady in the land. I love her so much. She is my soul person. We also have a knight who did one bad thing in his life, and that's it. And now he's shaming himself forever. And then we also have a real life godmother, like a fairy godmother, but she's kind of useless in a cute way. I really like this book. It's really good so far. I'm almost finished with it. So T. Kingfisher, again, is Ursula Vernon, who's just such a good author. And it's a very short read. If you enjoy dark fantasy novels, I highly recommend it. It's got this really long epic quest, but kind of a dark little edge to it. Content warning, it does start with cannibalism, but this is still an enjoyable read. I do dig it. It's pretty fun. So check out Nettle and Bone if you're into that kind of thing. Yeah, that's what I have to say about it. Pretty cool. My next book in this pile. All right, so I have not read this book yet. So this is a combination of Stephen King and his son, Owen King. This is Sleeping Beauties. And I think, if I recall this correctly, this is a beast of a novel. I know that's no surprise. It's Stephen King. Of course, it's a monster of a novel. But I do recall, if you're more into comics, they have been releasing Sleeping Beauties over time as a graphic novel. So that if that's something that appeals to you, check that out on Amazon. It's really cool, and the art is absolutely stunning. I mean, this cover is really, really pretty. So essentially, I have not read this yet, by the way, but I did want to include a King novel because, I mean, he's kind of the king of horror, right? But this book has gotten a lot of accolades. I know a lot of people have it's kind of a hit or miss for some people with King. This one has been a pretty decent hit, I would say, as far as King books are concerned. So this one, I'll just read what it says on the flap here. This one is cool too because his son is collaborating with him on it. So we have, in a future so real and near, it might be now, something happens when women go to sleep. They become shrouded in a cocoon-like gaze or gauze. If they are awakened, if the gauze wrapping their bodies is disturbed or violated, the women become feral and spectacularly violent. They become very violent. And while they sleep, they go to another place, a better place, where harmony prevails and conflict is rare. I don't see a problem with this. Don't wake me up. Okay, one woman, the mysterious Eve Black, is immune to the blessing or curse of the sleeping disease. Is Eve a medical anomaly to be studied, or is she a demon who must be slain? Abandoned, left to their increasingly primal urges, the men divide into warring factions, some wanting to kill Eve, some wanting to save her. Others exploit the chaos to wreak their own vengeance on new enemies. All turn to violence in a suddenly all-male world. This is set in a small Appalachian town, of course it is, whose primary employer is a woman's prison. So this sounds interesting. Maybe it's a little too close. I don't know if it's too close to home. I feel like all I want to do is sleep. This sounds very appealing to me. And don't wake me up. I would be very feral. So this is Stephen King's book, Sleeping Beauties. They do have, I'm pretty sure, a graphic novel version of this. It's massive. Like, how many pages is this monster? I mean, this is about 700 pages. Yeah, it is. So if you've got the time and you want a giant read, this one is probably going to be a really fun one. Post-apocalyptic, really interesting story here. And this is a collaboration between Stephen King and his son, Owen King. So that's a fun read. The next one, we're going to talk about this comic here. And I know there's probably some comic readers here, some not. We've got an intermingling of different kinds of books in my pile. So here's a comic. This one is literally, so what it says is 25 images that tell a story without words. It's just this artistic, beautifully done comic by Thomas Ott. And this is done, what is it called? It is, it's like Scratchboard. That's what it is. So all of this is done with Scratchboard. If you've ever done Scratchboard art before, it is hard. You literally take all of those white bits, that's all scratched off. It's crazy. So this is The Forest. It's a really trippy comic book. And it's really short, but it's really beautiful. if you really enjoy comics. Also, if you just joined today, make sure to leave a comment down in the comments. Make a comment in the comments. Let me know where you guys are watching from. I'm from Seattle. It's actually really nice and sunny out today. So, and I hope everybody's enjoying their Prime Day. All right, back to Bleak summer reads. So I like The Forest because we can go from summertime and actually spring, summer, and fall with this kind of book. I like to go camping during spring and summertime, and then meandering into fall, still going camping. I still really like to roam the forest. So, especially in the Pacific Northwest. So let me show you what's inside. It looks like a photograph, right? I love it. It's really, really pretty. So here we have no text, nothing. Here we go. He's on his way to the forest. Look at all of this amazing detail. So the whole point of this book is that, what does it say? A young boy dives into the depths of the forest where he is confronted with the greatest fears of humankind. In doing so, he is forced to choose his own path. Look at that. This in particular, with the different layers, with all of the root systems, is really impressive to me. It's super pretty. Here, I'll give you a few more pages. This is a weird little creature in the forest. But again, all of these crazy details, I'm just like impressed with how many details this is. So for those of you that just joined, we're looking through this really briefly. It's a short, kind of like a comic. It's called The Forest by Thomas Ott. It's a little eerie, and there's no words. And it's all done with scratchboard. So here's another one. You can see feet dangling from the trees. Super creepy. And I'll share with you one more photo. Here's another one. Super creepy, right? Again, very impressive art style. Interesting story here, especially with no words. It's all like left to your imagination, what all of this means, what kind of things are coming up for you. I kind of like that. That's pretty cool. So this is by Thomas Ott. This is called The Forest. It's very short, small. It's pretty dark. I would not suggest it necessarily for kids. Maybe older readers like YA, you can get away with this. This is more of an adult comic book, but it's also just very short, just 25 images that tell a story without words using scratchboard. It's really impressive, just beautifully done. So the next book I'm going to talk about is actually finally the Amazon. It's one of the deals of the day, and so when I saw that, I was shocked and really excited. Okay, so The Black Tongue Thief by Christopher Buehlman is so good. I cannot recommend this book enough. It's a dark fantasy book. It is about, let's see, I always get his name all mixed up. It's Kinch Na Shinnok. He is literally the Black Tongue Thief. So if you're looking for a witty, hilarious character who is a bit of a jerk, he's hilarious. I love him so much. You will want to read this book. The characters themselves are super notable, and they're really relatable. So Kinch Na Shinnok is kind of like this lowly thief. He doesn't do the best job, but he's really witty, and he's got a silver tongue. Like black tongue, but actually like a silver tongue in a, you know what I'm saying. So he convinces somebody to go with him on this journey or whatever. And it's a hilarious scene, by the way. He surrounds himself actually with really powerful female protagonists, and they're really amazing. And together they go on this really epic journey. So it feels kind of like this high fantasy Tolkien-esque world going on, because it really is a lush and rich world that Christopher Buehlman has created in this book, but it's not as pretentious. I love Tolkien. Do not get me wrong. I'm not trying to be offensive here. but he can be a little pretentious, too wordy sometimes. It could be dry. This is not dry. I've never laughed through a book so much. There is so much dark humor in this novel. It just really hit all the right places. I was just cracking up through the whole thing because it's just ridiculous. But there are dark moments in here. So there's creepy goblins, which is funny because goblins to me are like the chihuahuas of like the monster universe. They like look all evil sometimes, but they're so tiny. These guys are actually terrified. This is a time after these goblin wars, and they're actually really terrifying. The characters are actually terrified of goblins and like what they can do and their whole world. It's really interesting. Another bit of information about this book. This is the first book out of a whole series that will hopefully happen. I did not know this. I thought this was going to be a solo fantasy novel. This ended up not being a solo. Like there will be more stories after this following Kinch, Na Shinnok, the Black Tongue Thief. We'll get to learn more about the Thieves Guild, assassins, all the dark, shadowy figures in the world, just witchery, magic. Like this is really cool. It's actually kind of similar, I would say, as far as like dark fantasy to Witcher. I would say that, but hilarious. It's funny. So if you're looking for a great fantasy read and the fact that it's actually the deal of the day, totally grab this. It is so fun. It's a great, great read. I'm really glad I picked it up. So that is The Black Tongue Thief. That's my mini ramble. Thank you for my TED Talk. I hope Christopher Buehlman accepts what I just said about his novel because it's so good. Okay. So something a little less me freaking out and being a weirdo. We have this classic, I would say. So Alice Hoffman, I believe, has finally finished her entire Practical Magic series. And I wanted to bring up Magic Lessons. So this is kind of the prequel of her entire Practical Magic series, like the origins of the curse and how everything happened and why love is so important and why you shouldn't deceive people. And it's just really beautiful. So obviously the cover is stunning. It's shiny and sparkly here. Totally resonates with all that magical stuff. So we have here in the beginning, we have the Owens bloodline where it begins, and it's set in the 1600s and in rural England. So it's really fun and Practical Magic, the movie, is totally different than Practical Magic, the book. And you get a lot more insights into the witches, the ants, and their entire bloodline and the curse. I just like this as a summer read. I think it's just a really fun, awesome, witchy kind of, summer read that you can start with. And it can kind of explain some of those pieces that may have gone missing. Plus, Alice Hoffman just finished the entire Practical Magic series last year, I think, in October. So you can literally sit down with the entire, it's a, what would you call it, quadrology? All of the 4 books and all through the summertime, just have a really awesome binge reading session all summer with the Practical Magic series. That would be super cool. So I wanted to point this one out, bring this one to everybody's attention because it's the prequel and it's really good. So check it out. And Alice Hoffman is just an amazing writer. I really enjoy her stuff. All right. So the next book on my list of books, it's actually a mid-level kids novel. This is by Pam Smythe. This is The Hideaway, and it's gotten great reviews. I can't remember when this was published. This was published not that long ago, but it might be a couple years. Okay, so it's 2021, so it was last year. Goodness. So this has illustrations throughout the novel. It's really pretty. Mid-level children's book. It's cool. Look at the black edges here. It's kind of eerie, right? So what it's about is one rain-lashed autumn night. Billy can't stand the fighting any longer. He packs a bag and slips ghost-like into the dark. His hiding place is a cold and gloomy graveyard, and soon something mysterious and magical starts to happen. So this is a very dark, atmospheric novel, kind of gothic. It's not quite like the Graveyard Book from Neil Gaiman. It is different, but that's also a great read, by the way, the Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. So let's look at some of these illustrations. It's a great book for kids, and I forgot to actually put this in my carousel. Here we go, The Hideaway. All right, so I like to prepare, especially during Prime Day, kind of a whole list of books and things that I can get for my nieces and nephews and even just my friends and whatnot, because there's a lot of great book deals on Prime Day. So this is a great Halloween, fall, wintertime read. So I wanted to bring this to your attention. Also, he does end up wandering in the woods, and that's kind of a fun little adventure. I tend to be in the wood. I'm weird. I like to wander the woods alone a lot. So I like that we have a lot of that going on in this particular book. Here we go. The illustrations are very, very pretty. I think kids are totally going to dig this book. It's very provocative. It really reels you in. It's not it's gloomy, but it's not super morbid. I'll share with you a few more illustrations. I have a lot more books to get through, so in adult reads, and I already have. If you guys want to find more kids books that are dark, stay tuned for my other live streams. You can give me a follow and you will be notified of that. But I think my next live stream will be exclusively kids books. If you're looking for Halloween or kind of grim, eerie, spooky monster kids novels, that's where you're going to want to see me. All right. So let's move on to another book. I'm going to move on to a manga. And I love manga. That's just something I enjoy. And I know not everybody's going to like it. So this is a classic. This is Uzumaki. This is by Junji Ito. This is Spiral into Horror. So essentially, this is what the back of this says. We have a fog town on the coast of Japan. It is cursed. It's not haunted by a person or a being, but a pattern. So this is Uzumaki. And I know this isn't new. It's not new. This is definitely a classic. I actually have not read Uzumaki, but it is everywhere in horror culture. Junji Ito is like, I love him. I love how dark and eerie his art is. He's talented and fantastic, but he's like the happiest dude in person. Like, he's so joyful, but he has some trippy art. So this is obviously a massive book. It's got some weird stuff in here. So if you're looking for a weird, surreal trip of a book, this is the manga for you. It's definitely weird, as you can tell. So spirals are apparently evil. So I like that concept of things not being haunted by an actual like person or entity, but actually a shape. It's so far-fetched. But he does such a good job with how creepy and weird everything is. So you can see here's like a colored photo of his stuff, and it is super, super trippy. Like this dude right here, that's so weird. All right, and here's some more stuff here. So this is kind of the art you're going to find. It's like really morbid, surreal, but very, very intricate and super interesting stuff. Like here's a wild scene. Just the thought of drawing all of this it's like super impressive to me. So I love, personally, I'm a huge fan of Japanese horror and Korean horror. I just think there's so many, especially when it comes to like hauntings and paranormal stuff, because it actually is it's so surreal and it's not familiar. And I kind of feel like that should be the point of paranormal horror, is that it is like, it's too weird, but in a horrible way where it hits that fear factor part of your brain. So I really dig more of the Japanese and Korean horror, especially films. Western horror has become so predictable to me that it just is getting boring. So I love exploring different horror. I'm really also digging Latin American books in general, which I will showcase. One of the books, La Hacienda, is I think it's The Hacienda. Sorry, I went like full. So The Hacienda is a book that I'm really excited about because I'm so excited for more multicultural horror spotlight, because seriously, Western horror is getting so boring. It's just boring. All right, so here's Uzumaki for those who are into comics, who want some weird comic stuff. I do have another comic. I'm going to be going over The Batman Who Laughs, which is another classic for those of you that really dig comic books. But here's Uzumaki. I know this isn't brand new or anything. I still haven't read it, but I know about it because who doesn't? But this is by Junji Ito. Give yourself the opportunity to relax with some mangas and comic books. There's a lot of cool horror comic stuff out there, and I will feature some of those as well today. All right, so another book. I just mentioned it. I haven't read it yet, but I was saying I'm really excited to see more multicultural horror writers in the world right now, and just in the spotlight. So this is The Hacienda. This is by Isabel Cañas, and I've heard really great things about it. So essentially, The Hacienda is haunted. I'm excited. So I'm going to just read to you the sleeve. I've heard only great things about it. I have not read it myself, just forewarning. But here is what the publisher has to say. Apparently, this is Mexican Gothic meets Rebecca, and Mexican Gothic is amazing. I love Silvia Moreno Garcia so much. She's pretty fantastic. Check out the daughter of Dr. Oh no, I forgot. Anyway, she's got another book coming out, I think this month. So that's another great horror read that you can probably pick up. Anyway, so The Hacienda. So during the overthrow of the Mexican government, Beatrice's father was executed and her home destroyed. When handsome Don Rodolfo proposes, Beatrice ignores the rumors surrounding his first wife's sudden demise, choosing instead to seize the security that his estate in the countryside provides. She will have her own home again, no matter the cost. But the hacienda is not the sanctuary she imagined. When Rodolfo returns to work in the capital, visions and voices invade Beatrice's sleep. The weight of the invisible eyes follow her every move. So Rodolfo's sister Juana scoffs at Beatrice's fears, but why does she refuse to enter the house at night? What does she know? Juana's being a jerk. Why does the cook burn copal incense at the edge of the kitchen and mark the doorway with strange symbols? What really happened to the first wife of Don Rodolfo? So Beatrice only knows two things for certain. Something is wrong with the hacienda, of course, and no one there will save her. Well, that's rude. So desperate for help, she clings to the young priest, Padre Andres, as an ally. He's no ordinary priest, though. Andres will have to rely on his skills as a witch to battle the malevolent presence haunting the hacienda. Far from refuge, San Isidro may be Beatrice's doom. I'm really excited. It sounds cool. I've been wanting to find a really cool paranormal haunted house book, and I've gone through a couple of them this year, and they haven't really hit the mark for me. I'm really hoping this one does. So The Hacienda by Isabel Cañas is probably going to be a really cool summertime read, especially if you are going to some foreign house as a vacation and you're like, I'm at this Airbnb, let's read about haunted houses and freak yourself out. So check this one out. Next up on my massive list of books, let's see. Ooh, did I add this one? I may have forgotten it, but I'm going to mention it anyway. So Pan's Labyrinth. It is one of my favorite movies of all time. And I actually prefer watching it in the summertime. I think it's a perfect summer, springtime horror-esque movie. But this book is super cool. It's technically a children's book, but if you are into Pan's Labyrinth or Guillermo del Toro, you're really going to love this. And Cornelia Funk, she does the illustrations. So here we go. I'm going to share what it looks like on the inside because it is illustrated. Oh, sorry. Cornelia Funk is actually the writer. My bad. And then illustrations are by Alan Williams. So here we go. We even have a table of contents here, but it's super pretty. Here's actually what each page looks like. It has creepy trees on each side. We also have these really gorgeous, oh my God, they're so pretty. This illustration, I mean, there's so much detail here. It's just absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to share a few more of these really cool illustrations. Here's the root. Here's that. I know it's very small, but here's the other illustration. Look at this. Oh, so pretty. So I did not put this in my carousel down below, but definitely look this up. It's Guillermo del Toro, Cornelia Funk, Pan's Labyrinth, or The Labyrinth of the Faun. It's beautifully illustrated. This is a collector item, in my opinion. Like, I love this. I love seeing it on my bookshelf. I love that we have these gorgeous illustrations throughout the book. So check it out on Amazon. I'm really sad I didn't add it to the carousel, but it is what it is, and I wanted to share it with you guys anyway. So let me move on to an actual book I hopefully have in my carousel. Okay, well, goodness gracious. Okay, so this is an interesting book. So this one is definitely in my carousel. I apparently messed up my carousel today. I'm sorry. Okay, so Hotel Magnafique. I have not read this one either. My co-host Carrie, I believe, has started reading it or is halfway through something, or maybe she finished it. I'm not sure. So this one is really good. It is similar to the Midnight Circus. So I'm hoping if you guys are part of the dark side of the library here, you probably know what the Dark Circus is, or Midnight Circus. Oh God. Anyway, so it's got the same vibe and I love it. I always kind of think of circuses and hotels and traveling as a more of a summertime oriented read. It's very magical, but kind of dark as well. So here's what this is actually about. So all of her life, Janie has dreamed of elsewhere, like an actual place called Elsewhere, which is super cool. So barely scraping by with a job at a tannery, which is interesting, she is resigned to a dreary life in the port town of Dirk, caring for her younger sister Zosa. That is until the legendary Magnafique appears in town. So this is where we get that Midnight Circus thing going on. So this place is famous for its astonishing enchantments, especially its ability to travel the world. And that's something I think all of us want to do during the summertime. Arriving at a new destination at midnight, that's exactly Midnight Circus, Janie and Zosa seize their chance to join the hotel's staff, and they're soon swept up in a world of sparkling chandeliers and impossible magic. But it's not long before Janie discovers that beneath its marvelous glamour, the hotel is hiding something dangerous, lots of dangerous secrets. So this book actually has two variations as far as like the covers go. This one, I believe, is your standard cover with a beautiful, I mean, God, both of them are gorgeous covers with the beautiful purple and teal and gold. We also have one that's mostly teal. So like the peacock feathers are mostly teal with hints of purple and gold. I think that one is more of a rare or a limited edition, but I do think that one's on Amazon too. So check it out. If you're into traveling, hotels, that kind of thing, this is a cool book. And it's very similar to the Midnight Circus. So that's a book. All right. So the next, speaking of traveling, I'm going to share with you this traveling book. I'm hoping I can find it in my carousel. Here we go. And I'm going to take a sip of water. Okay. So I remember we were going through our list of dark books on our podcast, and this book came up, and I wasn't sure if this was like legit, but it is. So I don't know about you. For me, I would like, my dream is to do some dark tourism. And that guy on Netflix who did do it, I'm very jealous of. So this is exploring the world of dark tourism, and it's an atlas of dark tourist destinations. So here is how this book is divided. Look at how bright it is. I mean, it's wild. Why is this so bright? Okay, so here we go. The table of contents is actually divided by different continents and the places in each continent that are all spooky. So we have the Americas and Antarctica. If only I could go to Antarctica. We have Europe. There is also Africa, Asia, Australia, and the Pacific. So we have all of those. We also have kind of sub chapters. So for instance, Asia, we have like the Middle East. We also have like India. Then we have Southeast Asia and East Asia, all divided into places. So if you actually were traveling this summer and you were planning a trip to, let's just say, South America, you can go to the Americas section, go to South America. It's divided into country even. So if, like, I don't know, maybe you're going to Chile, you can go to page 60, I believe. And let's see what's in Chile. That's super dark. That would be super cool. Okay, so we have Chacabuco, okay, goodness gracious. This was a concentration camp, industrial ruins, and ghost town. So here is how this is actually kind of broken down. You can probably see this. So here is the name of the place, Chile. Here's the actual location. You have a dark rating right here, an explanation of why this is a dark place. You can't really see this here. Maybe you can. Trying. There's like a star system as well. I still haven't deciphered exactly what that means, what the star system means, because we have like a dark rating, which for here, oh my goodness, that's a 6 and a skull. I'm assuming a 6 out of 10. So I'm not sure what the 3-star means. Anyway, I'll figure that out eventually. We also have a place in Chile. They have a memorial museum in central Santiago de Chile. It's a dictatorship. There's torture resistance. So apparently there's some buzzwords here on like what each place is known for, like what darkness, all the darkness in all these places. So we even have dark stats on the side here. It's kind of amazing, actually. So these are all things you can travel to if you were like, I'm sure you're here for a reason, the dark side of the library. If you're interested in dark tourism at all and you travel a lot, this is actually kind of a really cool book to have on hand. So for instance, I went to Japan, and that was actually something that my husband and I wanted to kind of do, was to check out some dark stuff in Japan, because there's actually quite a bit. So let's look at Japan. There's 318 is the chapter. Let me flip to it real quick. So 318, there's a lot of dark places. Like this is a pretty big book of dark places. I did not know there were so many dark places in the world. All right, so 318, here we go. So we have Japan, as you can see the top here, and all of these places featured, these are all in Japan. I kind of wish we had a map for some areas, but we don't. So one of the places I know that I wanted to check out technically it's called the Suicide Forest. I don't know if it's actually, it must be in here somewhere. What? Oh goodness, it's not in here? That's a lie. That can't be true. Anyway, so here we have like the Yasukuni Shrine. We have why it's a dark place. So World War II is its own subsection of like dark tourism. We have imperialism, war crimes, revisionism. We also have a lot of these dark tourist places, they are actually related to World War II and World War I, sadly. We do have some that's more, I'm wondering if we have more haunting housing kind of places. We do have cemeteries. Let me see if I just passed it. but there are a lot of war crime, war-oriented touristy places. So we get to learn about these places as well, so that we can at least educate ourselves on these dark areas and pay our respects to, or just to kind of learn from history, like what we should not be doing. So check out this Atlas of Dark Destinations. This is by far, so now that I've looked at Japan, by far, this does not cover every destination of dark tourism, but it does cover a lot. So it has over 300 dark destinations. A lot of us are traveling right now. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, it's cool. It's divided by country, divided by continent. It's easy. If that's something that interests you, check it out. Atlas of Dark Destinations. All right, let's see what else is in this box here. We have, all right, I hope I put this one in here. We're gonna talk about another comic book, but I like this one a lot. Did I put it in? I hope I did. Okay, I did. Hooray! So, some of you guys are comic readers and might need some suggestions. Through the Woods is great. This is like a standalone graphic novel. This is by Emily Carroll. These are her stories. There's 5 stories total, but they're told like fairy tales, old school fairy tales, but they still have more of a modern flair to it. So it's not super old school fantasy stuff, but it is creepy. And she's got really cool art all throughout. And what's interesting is that it looks like it's for kids. And it's not, I promise you. If you show these stories to kids, they're going to freak out. They're going to be terrified. I'm just saying. But she does have a really interesting art style. It's very bright and vibrant and interesting. It's just very interactive even. It's just really cool. I like this book, this comic book, as a standalone. I tend to have it on my coffee table. Here's an example of how dark this book can be. So I like this book because it's very summertime-y or springtime-y, actually, which is kind of a surprise. So there's a lot of really interesting stories that kind of involve going out on some sort of adventure. It can be out in daylight. There's a lot of springtime-oriented stories, and flowers are in bloom, and it's a little colorful, but super, super eerie at the same time. And it's super fun. So I leave this out on my coffee table often. And I've had plenty of people just like, they get curious. They're like, what is this? Because look at this cover. I mean, why wouldn't you want to pick it up too? So they pick it up and then they're lost in it. They really are. I like anthologies as well because, so I like them because you can literally read a story and then you can just put it down and come back to it. These ones are fun too, because if you read this often enough, you can these would make great campfire stories, like the creepy stories you tell each other before you go to bed in your tent and you're going camping and you're like, oh, I don't want to go to sleep anymore. There's an evil monster in the forest. So these stories are actually perfect for that. They kind of like have this urban legend feel to them. And it's just really fun. So definitely check this one out. It's just beautiful. It's really, really quite gorgeous. I really dig it. For those of you that have just joined, make sure to leave a comment. I also know, and I'm concerned. So my actual conversation, my chat box does not work. It hasn't for some of these streams. But if you do enjoy dark stuff, like dark books, we've got children's toys, we've got dark bakeware, obviously comic books, and we've got lots of stuff, actually witchy stuff. Make sure to give me a follow. I'm gonna die here. Hold on. Make sure to give me a follow if you like Halloween oriented things and you want to get updated on some of the newer Halloween decorations even. We're going to be covering a lot of that on our live streams. And I hope everybody's having a good Prime Day, by the way. All right, so I'm going to share with you a few more books. So I feel a little ashamed because I'm just going to go through this one really, really fast. And we have about 10 minutes left. All right. So I have a confession to make. I'm not an avid Poe person. I think we all know the Raven thing, and I honestly only know it because of The Simpsons, and I'm ashamed to say that, but I'm saying that that's a secret between you and I. But this is really interesting. I always thought Poe was only associated with literature and poetry, books and stories. But no, apparently not. So the reason for The Darkness of the Night, the book, it talks about Edgar Allan Poe and the foraging of American science. And that's kind of crazy. I was like, I didn't know about any of this stuff. So it's cool. There are things throughout. This is nonfiction, as you can probably imagine. This is about Poe. So what it says here is decade after decade, Edgar Allan Poe remains among the most popular American writers, etc. But the author offers a bold new biography of a writer whose short, tortured life continues to fascinate, shining a spotlight on an era when the lines separating entertainment, speculation, and scientific inquiry were blurred. So the author reveals Poe's obsession with science and his lifelong ambition to advance and question knowledge. So that's this entire book is kind of, it's pretty thick. If you're an avid Poe fan, this is actually quite a cool book. They have photos. There are some illustrations and diagrams throughout this book that kind of talk about Poe's life and just the different advancements in American technology during the, I think this time, during the Revolution as well. So we have a lot of cool things. Let me see if I can find a few of those diagrams. I was struggling yesterday to find things, but you do get photographs throughout this book. Here we go. Here's some more stuff. It's really interesting. It is kind of a cool period of time, and how that did influence writers during that time is kind of interesting. So this is just an aspect of Edgar Allan Poe I did not know about. I didn't know a lot anyway, but it is really cool. If you are an avid Poe fan, I do recommend this as a nonfiction book. It's really interesting. It's got pictures, diagrams, lots of stuff. So this is The Reason for the Darkness of the Night. So this is by John Tresh. All right, so let's see. I'm trying to see. I feel bad because I think I missed a bunch of stuff when I was adding things, and I could potentially add more, I suppose. So I want to add this book. This was actually this was made into a movie. This had Natalie Portman, and I can't remember who else was in this. I'm trying to add it to my carousel right now because I'm a slacker. All right, so this is actually the first book of a series called the Southern Reach trilogy, and this is by Jeff Vandermeer. It's really it's a very, very cool story. Oh my goodness, I just reloaded my Amazon Prime thing and I did get messages. Oh, I'm sorry, you guys. I feel bad. Carrie said a bunch of different things. I feel really bad. My chat box wasn't working. Anyway, okay. All right. So, Annihilation. Okay, back at it. So, the movie is nothing like the book. Like, there's obviously different themes that are similar, but this book is super good. So you don't have to actually read the entire trilogy. I think this book is fine as a solo book. I do have the entire trilogy, and it's fine. But I still think that the first book is far superior. It's really interesting. So it's kind of like this weird bioweapon. So this is on the sci-fi end of creepy horror books, and it's really interesting. So none of the main characters actually are known by name. So they are all known by their occupation. So the main protagonist is the biologist. We have an anthropologist, a surveyor, and I'm trying to remember who else. Oh, a psychologist. That's right. I forgot about her. But anyway, so they're sent to this place that's called Area X. And every time they have a group of people go to Area X, every time they come back, something really crappy happens. So people start dying in mysterious ways. And so basically, they're being sent there to figure out what's going on in Area X, but then nobody comes back healthy or the same ever again. So this is actually short. It's a really easy read. You can literally breeze through this on a weekend day. I like this book for summertime because the environment that Area X is like, it's like a lush plant, beautiful place. It's like hot. So really, when you're reading this and you're out camping, or if you're on a lake or wherever you're at, and you're feeling like really it's muggy or terrible outside, you're going to feel like you're immersed into this book as well. There's a lot of creepy moments in here that are super surreal, and it really makes you think. For such a small book, it amplifies. I mean, it ramps up super fast. I think by like page 20, you're starting to feel like really terrified. You've got that atmospheric horror thing going on. So I highly recommend this. You don't need to read all three, in my opinion. You can just stop at Annihilation. It's cool to read the rest of the books, but this one's by far the best one, and it's the first one of the Southern Reach trilogy. And Jeff Vandermeer is kind of a hit or miss for some people, but a lot of people love Annihilation, and it was also a movie. Can't go wrong there, I guess. So that's that book, and I just added it to the carousel. Lucky me. So the next book, I just want to mention this series real fast because I did cover some comics today. So I have, so if you're looking for like scary, darker comic books, I would recommend, if you are, Image Comics, the publisher, is kind of the way to go. They are always publishing really dark, creepy stories spanning all across different kinds of genres, but they're usually all very dark oriented. So Saga is pretty fun. It's been going on for a while. I believe it was first published 2012. It's older. And it won, this particular volume won, I think, a bunch of awards in 2013. But this is a simple story. We've got two races of people. They've been waging war with each other for a while. These two end up falling in love, and they're having a baby, and they want to have a better life for their baby. I'm simplifying it, but it is really dark. So I'm just going to share a few of these photos. Oh, sorry. They're really cute. So the author is Brian K. Vaughan, and Fiona Staples is a phenomenal artist. She's so good. All right, so here's some of the art inside of the graphic novel here. Again, I'm only sharing this too because it is dark. It's a very dark graphic novel series, but Image Comics is pretty amazing. So if you're not usually a comic reader and you want to give it a go, I would definitely check out any of Image Comics's stuff. It's super interesting. They're usually doing something that's like dark or paranormal or really anything. So let's see if I need to make sure to filter some of these out. This comic's a little surreal. There's all kinds of weird monsters. It's fun because it's brightly colored, but I will feature more dark comics over time. If you're really into comics and stuff, definitely give me a follow because I'm a huge comic geek. And sometimes it's hard to find good comics out there. It really is. I know I can be very picky. All right, so here's some more weird imagery. It's pretty amazing. So yeah, definitely check out. This is Saga. It's pretty dark. It's a little brutal sometimes. It's kind of got if you like The Boys, I know The Boys has become more popular because of Amazon Prime. It's kind of got that vibe with it a little bit. So I would definitely check it out. Jen, hello. My chat box is now working. Fantastic artwork. Wow. Yes, it's pretty amazing. I love the artwork in this. It's pretty phenomenal. They've got really interesting creatures and obviously I love the tiny little baby here. It's cracking me up. So cute. But yeah, check out Image Comics. Check out Saga. It's a great comic series. I highly recommend it. Thank you guys so much for watching this live stream of Dark and Bleak Summer Reads. I hope you guys are at least have some ideas of things you'd like to read this summer. We will be doing more of these live streams, like I said before. So if you do like dark, horror, spooky stuff, go ahead and give me a follow and you'll be notified of all of our live streams. I will be live streaming again. I can't remember what I'm doing. I think it's children's books coming up is next, and then we will be doing some horror trivia. So I hope everybody has a great rest of your Prime Day. Join me later. I will talk to you later.